I'm going to, okay, cool. Meeting is being recorded, no problem. So, I guess we all learn at different speeds, and I hope it isn't going to be too boring if I just go back over what we've done each time, because I think it just does help to consolidate. But forgive me if it means that, it's a little tedious at the beginning. I just want to remind us that in the first lesson, we learned 3 consonants, b, sh, and t, and 2 vowels, which is actually the same sound. The one that looks like a little T and that one that looks like a flat line. And they both say ah. I had a Hebrew teacher who said that ah is like the little thing at the back of your tonsils, which has somehow stuck in my mind, and that it makes the same sound as you make when you open your tonsils, which is ah, ah, not ah, but ah. So ba, sha, ta was the first thing that we learned, and we then learned that you can put the letter together, that you always read from right to left, that you combine the consonant with the vowel, so that, for example, it says here, sha, ba, sha, and ta, and that when the 2 words are now, 2 letters are next to each other, you then just combine them with the next sound. So, shut, bash. So you're just doing the same thing each time. Combine consonant with vowel, and then reading across from right to left, combine the sound that comes out with the sound of the next letter. So that is what we learned at the beginning, and that then led us to be able to read these 8 lines on page 7, which I hope everybody can read. So just to remind us, I'll just quickly read line 7 and follow along with your eyes. And if you can read line 7 in the same way, that's a good sign. If you're coming out with anything different, we should discuss it. But I'll just read line 7 and 8 just to remind you and check you. Babash, shabash, tabash, babat, bat. And then line 8, Shabbat, the first real word that we've learned to read. Bat, also a real word as in bat mitzvah. Shabbat, shash, and Shabbat. So let me just pause. Any questions about those lines 1 to 8? Anything confusing you or different from what I read? Fantastic. So that is the first lesson that we did. We then went on to lesson 2, and there was quite a lot that we did in lesson 2 because we learned the following consonants. The aleph, which is a silent letter, it exists so that you can say the sound of the vowel, because other than that, you wouldn't be able to say the sound of a vowel except in combination with a consonant. And sometimes you need to say ah, as in abba. You just want to say ah. So you need something as a placeholder so that you can pronounce the vowel which sits underneath. So that's the silent letter aleph. Bet, with the ball in his tummy. As soon as you get kicked in the tummy with a ball, it's a hard sound, bah. But then if you're not being kicked in the tummy with a ball, you get to say a soft sound, v. So here the dot is relevant, a b, like a ball or a bullet. The v is a soft sound. The gimel, the g, which has a gap at the bottom, and the dalid, which is a kind of a, not quite a right angle because it comes in a little more like that. It looks a little bit like a door. So those are the letters we learned: silent, bet, vet, which are really variations of one another, gimel and dalet. And we then learned a new vowel. The vowel itself has a variation. By itself, just a dot under a letter, it's I. And when it has this yud or a little apostrophe after it, it just elongates I, I, I. And so we read at the bottom of the page, I, B, B, V, G, D. And then we read line 2, D, da, V, B, ga, gi, I, a, gi, di, va. So any questions so far? Anything about line 1 or 2 that bothers you? If you've got anything different from what I read, then you just say so. Otherwise, you've learnt those letters and that vowel. Great. So then we just practiced some of those. And on page 13, we then started to combine in a slightly more sophisticated way or complicated way. So what I'll do here is I'm going to read every second line. And again, I just want you to check that what I'm reading is what you are reading at home. And if you are saying anything different, or if it looks different to you from what I am suggesting, then please say so. And Peter, was this the page where you had the question? Page 13. So here they give you a little exercise, which they say, you know, because they imagine that you're doing this alone. So this book is actually designed to work alone. So what they do is they make an attempt to try and simulate Hebrew sounds by using an English word. So they ask you to try to write down what a Hebrew word would look like if it was the English word beat, or if it was the English word dot or T. I think that if you've got a teacher and someone to help you with the sounds, this is a little bit of a long way around, shall we say, and you can also get into difficulty over pronunciation. So I'm not mad about these exercises. Some people find them quite fun. By the way, I think what you were seeing as cat is actually eat. And that's probably just because it was a poor scan.
Oh, okay.
It's not cat, you're right. There was no cat. We haven't learned a cat. It's eat. And I guess what they want you to do with eat is like aleph with the yud in between, and then tough. Eat. Eat. That's really what they're after there. You know, when they say bob, they mean a bet and a bet. Although, yeah, anyway. But anyway, it can be quite fun to do that. So I am going to read on page 13. I'm going to read every second one. And please just see if what I'm reading is what you would expect me to read. And I'll do it quite slowly because we're getting now towards the more sophisticated sounds or combinations. I'm going to start with line 2. Adash, Ba'ish, Ishi, and Ish. Line 4. Ba, Bata, Bati, Bat, and Bat. Line 6. Dag, Dav, Daag, Debat, Dag. So let me just point to the third word there, because it can be the second or third are practicing the same skill. So the first word, dag, the aleph isn't playing any role. It's there, but it has no vowel with it. So it's just there to be quiet. It's just accompanying you on your journey, but it's not saying anything. So there it's dag. But the next word, the vowel underneath the aleph is telling you to make a sound. So it's da-av, da-ag, debat, and dag. So that's a little one just put in just to get your mind to just be attuned that the aleph can sometimes just be there without saying anything. Line 8, shavit, shavat, ba, shabat, and Shabbat. So if you take the word ba, Shabbat, you can see there's a lot happening. You've got to go through each letter. Ba, Shabbat, ba, Shabbat. So assuming that it's not too much repetition, I think I'll just do the lines that I skipped out, just because these are important consolidations, I think, for us just to make sure of. So I'm going to go on to the odd number lines. And again, read along with me if you want to mute yourself. Otherwise, just see, is what I'm reading the same as what you are reading in your mind? Av, Abba, Avi, Avad, Ibad. Line 3. Bi, Ba'ash, Bagad, Bug, Bad. Line 5. Gav, Gabi, Gag, Gadad, Gadi, Gat. Line 7. Now it's a little bit more complicated. So in this first word, the aleph is at the end of the word, doesn't have a vowel, it's just chilling. Tavi, Tashav, Shav, Tashiv. So let me pause there because that's all quite a lot. We have done it before, but still there's a lot there. Anybody want to ask a question about lines 1 to 8 on page 13? Anything worrying anybody so far about all of that? Are we all clear? Okay, great. If anybody has any struggles with line 1 to 8 on page 13, feel free to give me a call, drop me a WhatsApp, we will work through it. So here on the left-hand side of the page, they are just explaining to us that we've now learned some real words. And the real words that we've learned, Shabbat, Av, father. So Av is the formal word for father, like father. Abba means dad. It's a less formal. And Avi means my father. And then we go here to Ba, to come, Ish, a man, Bat, a daughter, as in Bat mitzvah. So those are the words that we have learned. Now we are going on to lesson 3, which we started last week. And in lesson 3, I'm going to make it a little bigger. In lesson 3, we are doing something that looks scary, just because it's a lot, which is why we take lesson 3 slowly. Because suddenly they introduce 5 new letters, and we are also getting a new vowel. But let's look at the letters first. We started them last week. So here are the letters. Hey, ha, as in house. And just to help us, it has a little hole there. Ha, ha. And it's exactly like the H in English, ha. But if it appears at the end of a word, like as in the English word sha or ah, you don't hear it. You might try to say it, ah, but you just won't hear it because it's just a soft sound. But when it's at the beginning of a word or when it's in combination with a vowel, you hear it. Ha, aha. The second one, v. So now you're going to say to me, we already learned v and it doesn't look like that. Yes, true. There are 2 letters in Hebrew for v. And this is the vav, the other one is the vet. And it's just a line with a little roof above it. V. It perhaps looks a little similar to the z, but with the z, the little stick is in the middle. With the v, it's at the side. So the v is like a little finger with a, with a bent over piece, whereas the z has actually got like a roof over the whole thing. A roof on both sides of the stick, if I put it that way. That is z. Then we come to the ch. Now the ch is a lovely sound. My friend Johnny Steinberg always says, like, the way to speak Hebrew is you just have to say ch, 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 ch all the time, ch, 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 and then you're done. And it is a bit like that. Ch is a very prominent sound in Hebrew. It's not a prominent sound in English. In fact, I don't know if we have the sound ch in English. We don't. I think we said last time we have ach, but that's German or Afrikaans. There's no real ch in English, but there's a lot of ch in Hebrew. So the ch looks like the h. You can see that it was perhaps a variation, right? H, ch. But in this one, instead of having a hole up here, there's no hole, and in fact, it's like the throat is closed. So that's the ch, slightly unfamiliar sound. And then, for the second time, we've got a letter that says t. So we had the t before, the tough with the little toe on the end, and now we've got the tet, which has a hole at the top. And that's how we know that it's a t. So those are the letters that we are busy with in this class. But page 15 is the one that will tell you what the sounds of those letters are. That's our next sounds. So we already said that the h and the ch look alike. They don't sound alike. And they say the t and the ch, it's true. One does have to notice the difference. This one has a little toe, the t. This one, there's no toe. And then the v and the z we already spoke about. Then we've got letters that sound alike but don't look alike. The v and the v, same thing. The t and the t, same thing. Different letter, same sound. So that's the sort of confusion that Hebrew introduces. So some of you sent me a voice note with these lines, line 17. So I'm going to read through them. Because they are really great to just repeat the sounds. So now again, if you're getting a different sound from what I'm saying, let me know. Va, 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 bi, vi, viv, biv, biv, vav. Any queries on line 1? No queries on line 1?
Nope.
Then I move to line 2. Tat, tat, teat, teat, tat, tach, ta. You see it ends in an H in the hey, ta. Any queries on line 2? Stop me if you have, otherwise line 3. Ha, ta, ha, ta, ha, ha, ta, ha, tat, chach, ha. Let me do those last 3 again. Tat, chach, ha. Line 4. He, chi, ti, chi, he, ti, ti, chi, chit, ti, chich. That last one's a bit cruel. Very unfamiliar sound to English speakers. Chich. Any query on line 4? Line 5. Va, za, za. Vi, zi, va. Zi, vi. Vaz, ziv, viz, vaz, bav. So a bit of a freak out of a line, actually. Quite kind of difficult to say some of those things. And by the way, these particular sounds, you won't often hear the v and the z together in Hebrew, but they've put it there just to make sure that you can distinguish between the v and the z. So I'm going to do line 5 again. Va, za, za. Vi, zi, va. Zi, vi, vaz, ziv, viz, vaz, bav. So, any queries on line 17? That was also your homework line. So hopefully you've sort of been getting your head around that. So I want to pause here. I'll have a sip of my wine, but also we're about to learn a new vowel. So before we go on to learning the new vowel, which is basically the first new thing that we've learned, and it's already 6 o'clock. So I'm kind of following that path. I'm going to revise for about half the lesson, perhaps a bit more than half, and then I'm going to move on to something new. So I want to just check in with you before I teach you a new vowel, which now is another thing that your mind must muster. Any queries so far? Is everybody feeling comfortable? And is lines 1 to 5 on page 17 feeling doable and okay?
I found it hard to say when you combine the ch and the z.
Yes. So let's look for one of those. You mean the ch and the z together?
Yeah, what sound is, or do you not get them together?
You can. So you might say chiz or zich. Let's just think of a word in Hebrew, like for example,
How about chaza?
Yeah, chaza, a great word. Chaza is a pig. Chazir. That's right. So
confuse the ch with the what?
So the ch can be confused with a t. So let's take this word over here. Can you see the little hand?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's chit, right? So they're trying to get you to remember that the one's got a toe, the other hasn't. Chit.
Well, can I say something up to this point though, because I'm confused. We haven't included a ga in this at all yet.
In the reading.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm worried why Peter brought it up now, because we haven't included the ga and the za yet.
Because we learned the gimel in the last lesson. I think maybe that's because the focus was
not in this lesson.
Yes, but we have learned the gimel.
Yes,
we have learned the gimel. Yeah. So at least we've learned it. Okay, so Harriet, just to complete your question, so the word zichron in Hebrew, which is to remember. Peter, you just said it just now. So you might say about a person who's died, you might say zichrono livracha, may his memory be for a blessing. There's a place in Israel called Zichron LeZion, the memory of Jerusalem. So you do get a z and a ch together, but really the main things to worry about from a reading perspective are not to confuse the z and the v, and not to confuse the ch and the t. And that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get you to think.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Cool. All right. So I think, unless there are any other queries, I think I'm going to move on to page 18.
Can I just ask a very quick question?
Of course.
In line 2, the word, the third one, tet.
That's right.
Why has it got a dot inside there and a dot underneath it?
Yeah, this is just the sort of irritation of people who put dots in letters that don't need to be there. You will reasonably often see a dot in a Hebrew word that means nothing. Like in Israel, you'll never see such a thing because there are no dots at all. And in the Siddur, you do sometimes see it, which is why they do it here. So that dot in the taf means nothing at all. And what you will begin to distinguish as you continue with Hebrew is that there are times when the dot is significant, but it's only when you're told so. And in particular, it's the one that we've learned now, the ba and the va. And then you'll learn later on a ka and a cha operate in a similar way, as does a sh and a sa. But if a dot is going to be significant, you will be told about it.
Okay, so basically to just ignore that and to read the dot and the yud together as the
That's right. So the vowel is underneath. What's in the middle of the letter, just try and ignore it if you can.
okay, thank you.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So we are going to learn a new vowel. The sound of the new vowel is a sound that doesn't occur in English except as more than one letter. The sound is A, as in hey, as in pay, as in lay. So in English, it's got a Y with it. Okay. Away.
It's also got an I with it, paid.
That's right. Good point, Reva. Paid. It can have a Y. It can have an I. Paid, laid, made. It can be an ADE. Made, late. Bait, BAIT. So the sound is A. So far we learned A, E. Now we learn A. And what's interesting about A is that it's the same, even if it's got that yud after it, even if it's got that little apostrophe afterwards. A, same sound. But sometimes that little yud will be there to sort of invite you to elongate. But it's, you know, it's such a marginal elongation, it doesn't really exist. A. So don't worry about the yud afterwards. The main thing is it's two dots next to one another. Two dots next to one another says A, as in hey, as in paid, as in made, as in late, as in bait. It says A. So if we now do the usual thing of combining it with a letter, hey, 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 he, hey, he, they, V, and V. Line 2, te, ta, te, ta, ti, chi, hey, te, and che. I'm going to read line 3 and 4, and then I'm going to ask for volunteers. They, V, Z, za, they, va, they, zays, zave. And line 4, haze, viz, tave, vate, heave, tase, tea, tut. So that is how you read the A, and you just combine it with the letter. So now let me ask anyone who would like to volunteer to read line 1 for me. Line 1.
Okay, I'll try.
Thank you, Reva.
Robin's smiling.
Good.
Okay. All right. So it's hey, hey, hey. I am going to elongate it anyway.
Okay.
He,
Good.
hey, he, they. V. V.
Good.
V.
100% Reva. Well
Wow,
done.
miracle. Thank you.
Well done. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well done.
Who's going to give us line 2? Anybody?
I'll try.
Thank you.
Te, ta, Tay. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tay. Tay. Ta.
Good. Ta.
T.
No, look at it again, this one.
Chi.
Good.
Chi. Hey.
Good.
Tay.
Good.
Tay.
Good.
And I'll say that one again. Tay.
Look at it again.
It's a T.
Not a T, because it's got no toe.
It's a Ch. Che.
Okay, well done, Harriet. Excellent.
Gosh.
So the only thing that's confusing you is the T with a toe and the Ch without a toe.
No, those are hard.
Other than that, absolutely perfect, 100%. Thank you. Who's going to read line 3 for us?
Okay, I'll try.
Thank you.
Say,
Good.
they, say,
Good.
they,
Good.
be,
Good.
sie,
Good.
sa,
Good.
they,
Good.
wa,
Good.
they,
Good.
says, and save.
Excellent, Peter. Excellent. We are getting through this. What about line 4?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Haze,
Good.
vis, tave, veit, hiv, tave, tase,
Good.
t, tut.
Excellent. So T with a slightly elongated T and tut. Excellent.
Thanks.
We are doing very well, everybody. And what they do here on the next page, you might have heard in that some sort of slightly familiar sort of English sounding words. And what they do here, also because they imagine that you're doing this alone, is they sort of try and make these into an English word. So for example, this one, as you just read, Rob's, is haze. So they say, look, find the word haze in this grouping, and then you're supposed to look for haze. So you can do that if you feel like it. But because you do have someone working with you, you don't need to. Fantastic. So we are on lesson 3. We have a new vowel. And what we do now is we simply consolidate what we have done. So I'm going to quickly read lines 1 to 6. They are easier than what we've just done. And then what we'll do is for homework, we will see if you can read these lines over here, which are on page 21. And if you like, Harriet made the suggestion once before, what I could do on a voice note to the group is I could read them for you if you like. And then you can practice them with my voice note and then hopefully in time without. But let me quickly read these lines 1 to 6, very much what we've been doing now, just consolidating. A, bay, they, gay, day, hey, they, they, chi, ti. Line 2, the first one is just a letter. The letter is called hey, it doesn't have a sound with it. Ha, he, hey, hey, had, heish, haid, hich. There's one to confuse everybody. Hich. Line 3, the letter is a vav, says va. Va, vi, they, vash, vague, bat, vid, viv. Line 4, the first letter, it's a zayin, there's no sound with it. And then za, zi, zay, zay, zat, zesh, zeg, ziv, zich. So those last two are quite hard. Ziv and zich. Line 5, the first letter is a ch. Cha, cha, che, che, chag, chaz, che, chit. Of course, the word chag in the middle is a real word, as in chag sameach, as in festival. Chag. The last line, there's your tet, ta, ti, te, te, tat, tish, tid, tat. Same pattern, but now you've got another vowel to look forward to. So here they've given you all the letters, not quite all. Yeah, I think all the letters that we've learned so far. I don't see an aleph actually. Most of the letters we've learned so far and the vowels that we've learned so far. Any queries about line 1 to 6? Nothing bothering you about lines 1 to 6? So now the challenge is to read page 21. So 21 has got two sets of one 5 and one 6. So if you can read these, then what it will prove is that you can read everything that we've learned so far. You can read all the letters and you can read all of the vowels. So these two exercises combine everything that you've read. And as you can see, some of the words are quite long, especially in the second set. You've got 4-letter words, not as in 4-letter words, just 4-letter words, as in aviv, baviv, gaviv, aviv, and av. But these two, this page is quite difficult because it combines everything that we've learned so far. If you can read what's on page 21, then you are home and away, because what that then allows you to do is to move on to your next letter, really, because you can now read everything you've learned so far. I'm just going to point out 2 difficult words, or at least I think they're difficult, and that, in fact, 3. That's at the beginning of line 3. So you remember that the middle letter here is a vav. So it's avid, gavid, bavid, tavid. And the last word on that line, David. The name David is spelled like that, David. So what I'm hoping you will do for homework and send me on a voice note is 1 to 5 and 1 to 6 on page 21. Would it be helpful for me to send it to you first as a voice note, or will that just stop you from really engaging? You would find it. So I'm going to do that. Try and you know, obviously try and read it as in, you know, making your way through those letters and not only listening, but I think the listening will help. And once you can do these, then really you are in a very strong position, because then what we're going to do after that, we'll hear a few things. So at the end of this, you're going to see that, well, we'll do that next week, but page 22 is very much the same. It's just taking what we've learned and putting it together. So it's the same as what we're doing on line 21. And that then basically means that you're ready for your next set of letters. And if you keep going at this pace, you will be through the letters very quickly, which is really what is going to happen. So please learn for me, practice for me. You can practice page 20 if you want, but certainly page 21. If you find it difficult, if you have queries, listen to my voice note, and or feel free to drop me a WhatsApp. if you do send me a voice note, I will do my best to respond before the lesson and not like Harriet and Peter at the very last moment. Any questions or queries?
Yeah, that on the first line of 1, 2, 3, fourth word, is that behave?
Yes. And guess why they put that in there? Because they're going to give you an exercise just now in which they say to you, try and find the word behave, because they're trying to, they assume that you don't have a teacher. So they're trying to make words that sound like English words. So well done. And so can you see that these are circled?
Mm.
The reason they're circled is because the actual exercise, read the following Hebrew letter combinations and circle the ones that sound like English words. So the ones that sound like English words are bait, as in what you catch a fish with, behave, gaze, a photographic gaze.
But also, isn't gave in front of it also sound like
well
it?
Done. Well done. That we should have circled and didn't.
Mm.
I think I was doing this with Tembi last. So that gave should have been circled. Gaze.
Gaze.
Shave, as in shaving. And shave again. And then David, well, is David. So we should have circled that. And then hate. Date. And then they've been cute here. Shit. Here is the word shit. Sounds like an English word. In fact, we should have circled shut, to shut the door.
And now they put another bloomin' dot in the D for nothing.
That's right.
Right.
Dreadful. And they put a dot in the gimel. There's a dot in the gimel for nothing. But unfortunately, what you'll see in the Siddur is that they also do that from time to time. And it's just kind of leftover things. Hebrew is a language that evolved slowly. So you just have to put up with it. But what you must know is that the significant dots are the ones you've been told about, and and others that you will learn as we go on. Any other questions on 1 to 5 there? Fabulous, everybody. Thank you for your patience and attention. I look forward to seeing you next week. Send me your voice notes. Homework is page 21, but I will also send a voice note to you. Lots of love. Stay well.
Thank you so much.
Before anyone says